how do you think about self-discipline?
It takes a while. If we're lucky, it takes a while to learn that it feels good to make ourselves do things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's never at the expense of spontaneity and flow and looking after ourselves. They work together. But the way I really come at self-discipline is that it's largely interpersonal. It's self and other discipline, right? You try to be better for others.
Yeah.
And you work out ways to be better with others. And I think it's as true internally as it is externally. What I mean by that is the self is, at least for the most part and maybe completely, not singular. It's plural. And self-discipline refers to producing something like a self through the reciprocal disciplining of systems within us that would each like to claim to be a self already.
Mm-hmm.
What we call a self is more like good teamwork. And you don't get good teamwork unless these systems hold each other in check. Otherwise, a part runs away with the ball and the game ends.
Exactly.
So that process of reciprocal adjustment between internal systems is what we normally point to as self-discipline. And I think it's easier to get into that if you stop thinking there just is a self that I am.
Yeah. Reciprocal adjustment of these internal systems. I use this analogy that your mind is like a boardroom of all these different stakeholders, and they all have like different things that they want. And the common notion of self-discipline is like being a wartime CEO who decides to just dominate everybody and says, this is what we're going to do. And often that leads to a life of extremes where you have, the pendulum swinging, where someone does like an elimination diet for a couple of weeks and then they start, eating Doritos. And so what it looks like more, the closer I've looked at it, I've investigated this process in myself, the more I've realized is exactly what you said. One, it's about developing a good relationship with these internal systems and attending to them because they all have a piece of the puzzle. But two, it's not just about the self, like as me, as Daniel, it's about something more mutual and more community oriented. And so in my life, I've noticed the most disciplined periods have always been when I've had some sort of accountability, when I've worked with someone, when a group of people have committed to something. And then I started to realize that actually the whole idea of self-discipline was just based on this illusion or this hyper-individualism. And if I start to attend to the people in my community, then naturally I start doing those things that require effort. And it feels good to do those things because they're in service of others.